This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by the law offices of Tunnell Raysor.
Getting injured while you're on the job, it's one of those occurrences you hope never happens. But if it does, you want to know what to do, especially if you qualify for a workers' compensation claim. If that's the case, no matter what circumstances surround your injury, step one ought to be to contact an attorney for a consultation. After that, you can decide where you want to go with your possible claim. Delmarva Life's Katie Zerilli sat down with Kelly Gelof of the law offices of Tunnell Raysor, who clears up some questions.
Moments in the workday one might expect. Chatting with colleagues at the coffee pot, receiving perhaps a frustrating email, or giving the boss a status report on that ongoing project. A moment one might not expect, getting injured on the job. But it happens, and when it does, filing a workers' compensation claim is often necessary, but can be confusing.
A lot of it's foreign language to them, so they just don't know what to do, and it's really scary. They're just not sure how to handle what it is that they have been given. They did not try to get hurt at work. They'd never been hurt at work before, so they're seeking counsel to be able to get through that process.
Kelly Gelof and the team at the law offices of Tunnell Raysor are happy to be that counsel so that folks can get the financial means and other support after their workplace injuries. She says when it comes to making a claim, oftentimes there's a little gut of guilt on the employee's end.
I have a lot of people who come in who care so much about their employer or their supervisor or both, and they feel awkward talking to an attorney because it feels so adversarial. So we do try to put their fears at bay to say, hey, we will help you through this however you want us to. Let's make sure that you understand what the process is, and then you can decide whether or not you want to have an attorney involved.
One of the first steps of that process is making sure the incident was properly documented.
There are lots of small businesses that may not have even had a workers' compensation claim before, so they weren't sure how to handle it. So part of what we do with the employee is make sure that it was properly documented and reported. Because if you don't do that within a timely manner, then you are going to be out of luck with being able to get any kind of compensation, even though you do deserve it.
There is, she says, a time limit on how long you have to open a claim, which varies from state to state. In Delaware, it's 2 years. Knowing the truth about what's actually taking place in these happenings might also help folks be more active in filing claims.
Me as the attorney, I am not typically dealing with the actual employer or the supervisor directly. The workers' compensation claim is an insurance claim by the employer that is typically assigned to what we call an adjuster. So as an attorney, I'm typically dealing with an adjuster, unless they're self-insured, but we're usually dealing with another person that will be the middle person to deal with the information, and I'm not specifically dealing with the actual employer, nor would the employee. If they have a claim and they didn't have an attorney, there's a good portion of the claim that you're dealing with the adjuster. But when you don't have an attorney, you also are dealing with your direct supervisor, and you may have more conversations with them about your claim than what you might have if you have an attorney involved. Something that most people don't realize is you're not looking at having to go in front of a jury, for example, for a workers' compensation claim. Many times, those matters are resolved through settlement negotiations. However, you do need to get them approved by the Industrial Accident Board.
And there's not a lot of guessing when it comes to exact monetary compensation amounts. It just depends on the injury.
There are line items of body parts and how long you were without use, or if you've unfortunately lost a portion of your body or a finger, for example. There are things out there that help determine what the value of the case is based on what the chart is that is out there in the workers' compensation world.
She adds that in some cases, if folks were to change jobs and have an old injury from a previous claim flare up again, they're entitled to continued compensation.
Another scenario that comes up for people is they don't realize that their claim is actually still open as long as they're still having treatment that is related to that first injury, as long as you're treating within every 5 years.
Of course, the circumstances will be different in each and every case, but no matter what, it's always important you do what's best for you.
You may have a situation where you decide that you don't need an attorney, but after you have that first consultation, you're able to at least make an informed decision whether or not you want to pursue the claim or not.
Because when you're informed, then you're empowered.